Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. We are at the top of the hour, so we're going to get started in just about 2 minutes to let a few more people file in, and then we will start our webinar. So just hang tight. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and welcome once again to our webinar called Build Accurate and Cost-Effective Deformation Monitoring Workflows Using ICEYE SAR Imagery. I'd like to first off thank everybody for joining us and taking time out of your busy schedule in order to see some of the valuable new capabilities and tools and some of the work that we are doing with ICEYE today. So taking the time out of your day, we really appreciate it. Before we get started, we're just going to cover a few housekeeping notes. So one, all of your lines are muted during the presentation. If you are having any problems at all, please raise your hand if you wish to speak. We will do our best to accommodate you. This session is going to be recorded, so it's currently being recorded. However, please stick around right to the end. We're going to have some valuable Q&A time with our special guest as well. So first, I'd like to introduce our special guest, Pekka Lorila. He is the Chief Strategy Officer and co-founder of ICEYE. He won the 30 Under 30 by Forbes magazine back in 2018 and is one of the founding members of the ICEYE data platform. So I'll just quickly give you a second to introduce yourself, Pekka, or say hi to the audience. And once again, we'd really like to thank you for being here today.
Yeah, hi everybody. Yeah, thanks for having me in, and yeah, really looking forward to seeing what the demo looks like.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Our other two presenters today, so we have Jason Flatt, our technical expert at PCI. So he's one of our solution engineers here, and he's worked with many of our customers around the world and helped implement many of our different solutions across our technology suite. So welcome, Jason.
It's great to be here. Hello, everyone.
Wonderful. And then finally, we have myself, Sean Malamed. I'm a product marketing manager here at PCI Geomatics. I've performed a number of activities with PCI, once again, also helping to deploy our technology around the world, work with our various customers to solve their problems. And now I support our team from a product marketing perspective. And once again, just want to thank everybody for being here today. Going through our agenda, so we're going to first discuss and provide an introduction to ICEYE and Geomatica. We're then going to walk through some of the benefits of ICEYE and then also some of the benefits of Geomatica for InSAR processing. We're going to showcase a concept for cost-effective deformation monitoring and then also discuss some of the key applications of deformation monitoring. And then we're also going to look at some of the InSAR, or provide an InSAR demonstration using ICEYE data, which Jason Flatt will be providing for you today. And then finally, we're going to finish off with about 10 minutes of questions and answers at the end of this webinar. We'll all be standing by, so if you have any questions at all throughout this webinar, please feel free to type it into the chat or into the questions window. So first off, what do we hope you learn from this? So one is understanding some of the applications of SAR and InSAR processing with ICEYE SAR data. It's a very unique platform as they have a very high revisit time and a variety of different resolutions available. We also want you to understand a cost-effective technique for how you can monitor deformation over large areas. And then finally, how you can create these deformation maps using ICEYE SAR data and Geomatica's InSAR workflow. So a quick introduction to Geomatica. So Geomatica is a best-of-breed photogrammetry and remote sensing software suite. We deliver outstanding results for processing, analyzing, and visualizing SAR and optical imagery from a variety of platforms and sensors, both in satellite and aerial. Our four main pillars that Geomatica is built upon is photogrammetry. So this is the ability to create accurate survey level ortho images from, once again, all these different platforms. The ability to extract 3D elevation models. We also have radiometric normalization and compositing capabilities, such as our new image fusion capability, in order to pan sharpen imagery but maintain the radiometric integrity. We also have powerful mosaicing and image compositing technology as well. And then, of course, the feature of today's webinar, so our SAR and InSAR processing. So we have the ability to, one of the big benefits of SAR in general is the ability to see through clouds, to be able to identify and analyze structure, to be able to perform classification of features, change detection. And then, of course, the main feature of today's webinar is our InSAR processing, which is designed for creating elevation models, as well as one of the more popular topics of today is deformation mapping. And then finally, image analysis. So the ability to extract information, perform aspects such as change detection, classification, vegetation, and spectral analysis, and then be able to do this with some of our advanced machine learning capabilities. Our Geomatica suite of technology also gives you a very user-friendly environment for performing your work. So we have a responsive viewing and creating and editing environment with beautiful visualizations that are often used for research, for bespoke projects, as well as for prototyping. And then we have our automation environment, such as our Python API, our visual modeling workflow environment that allows you to then productize and create a more production environment of your workflows after you prototype them. So we give you the whole gamut. So at this point, I want to hand things off to Pekka Lorila, who's going to walk you through provide you with an introduction and walk you through some of the many applications and benefits of ICEYE SAR imagery. So with that, I'll let you take it away, Pekka.
Okay, great. And we're going to look at just the screen show now.
It's showing perfectly, thank you.
Perfect. All right. Yeah, good afternoon, morning, wherever you are. From my side, it's afternoon for me here in Finland. Yeah, a short introduction to what ICEYE is and then what it will be useful for. Really to kick off on the on the very high level, what are we building at ICEYE? We are building something that is a new global infrastructure in a way that we want to take the sort of view to the world to be something that is frequent enough to be sort of business usable and reliable enough to be business usable, in the same sense as you use GNSS systems on any business process these days. And what we want to do is we want to take sort of a SAR imaging to the sort of similar availability and frequencies that it can become something that supports just about any business process, in a sense where kind of objectivity is needed in the sort of human timescale of frequency and accuracies. This is what we're building the ICEYE system for. And the basic applications for this type of industries, this is probably nothing new to users that if you have used Earth observation data before or SAR data before. The types of industries where it's a question of either cost efficiency, where the sort of operational monitoring is required, or then it's a question of safety of operations, or then it's a question of, let's say, establishing trust between players in an economy. These are kind of the key industries where we can see new value emerging out of this, building the very high access and then very high reliability and very high revisit rates of effectively being able to image in any conditions, creating that sort of objective and normalized view to anything that is happening on the ground. And so what is ICEYE? At its core, it's a world-leading company doing specifically miniaturized synthetic aperture radar sensors and satellites. So we design, we build, we operate, and then build a platform for users to either use the SAR data in its very raw format, or then in various elevated abstractions like object detection, segmentations, levels like this, where we want to enable the user to be able to use this technology in a sort of as plug-in way as possible. And we've been around for around 5 years now, founded in 2015, and we launched the world's first sub 100 kilogram small SAR satellite in 2018, and have since grown to be around 200 people company. We always pride ourselves in being very international. The headquarters is in Finland, and we have 4 other locations currently around the world. And we have managed to secure a decent amount of financing to really make this vision come true, and are really on a sort of accelerating pace of making that happen. And one part of making that happen is launching the satellites. So in 2018, we had our first launch. In 2019, we had already 5 satellites in orbit, and the sort of first let's say baseline constellation that we are building is consisting out of 18 satellites, and this is something that we're looking to complete during the 2021 forward. So these launches are sort of now starting to take place. So we have still a few more satellites to go this year, and then for 2021 we have 8 launches committed already, or like say 8 satellites committed already. So the growth is very rapid. We are very much in, let's say, real operational phase, and then the constellation is growing and the data is flowing. There's still a lot to do, but we have become a pretty serious player in this field over the last few years. And yeah, as I said, so like where we focus in terms of applications, you can sort of see the benefits on a very high level, as either it's a question of increasing the frequency to be used in a sort of operational monitoring sense, where efficiency of operations is about saving cost, or then it's a question of enhancing security in types of operations where you are dealing in areas where otherwise infrastructure doesn't really exist. And then thirdly, we are very keen on making sure that where we can, we also help to save lives. And let's look at a few applications. This is like a collection of various applications where we believe sort of high frequency and rapid access SAR data will help. So maritime monitoring is a traditional SAR use case, and now here, if you can increase the access time, let's say decrease the access times, to hours, then tracking in real time vessel activity is something that actually becomes possible. And then this is how the strip map imagery, as far as resolution, looks like to a tanker vessel. So getting to tracking and sort of classifying vessels is something that is completely possible. Something else where very rapid access is meaningful, and the continuous high revisit is various natural disasters, where flood monitoring here is an example, being able to sort of see the situation not just as sort of statistical view, but more like to actually manage the situation in an active sense is something that high frequency allows. And then a typical use case for Earth observation analytics and InSAR has been around various financial metrics monitoring, and here increasing the revisit rates to the sort of human operation timescales, where you can see multiple times per day, day and night accesses to sort of key sites like this is something that we have seen that will bring in big value. And then same expanded to the sort of larger sense of not just necessarily trading on very specific commodities, but seeing the sort of world supply and demand picture, and then seeing that on a sort of sub-daily basis, so that your data points are closer and closer to each other on a global basis. So then let's say where all the resources are at any given moment is something that we can help to bring transparency to. Then on the agriculture side, something that you immediately you don't necessarily think of it as a very high revisit application, but there are areas where sort of trust is very crucial. So for instance, when agriculture is being financed, it's sometimes financed on the sort of futures basis, where the trust between the actors in terms of when are crops planted, when are they harvested, is something that down to daily level knowledge of this in country scale areas is something that can really revolutionize the way that agriculture is being financed. And going forward, the sort of increased resolution, increased frequency specifically in the domain of agriculture, can also help to go much deeper in the sort of smart agriculture area. And then here are a few of those applications, how they can look like. And I know that you're here looking for the interferometry use case. These examples are here to show that we have been working on those applications for a while. The interferometry as sort of let's say sort of stack collection products, we have that on the roadmap for early next year. So this is something that most of these products are sort of still more in the sort of experimental side, but it's something that over the next year will be bring these available and really focusing on the very high frequency, high resolution type stacks where the applications are partially the same old and partially something that has never been able to be done before, when you increase the frequencies to consistent daily stacks, for instance. And yeah, on the top you can see interferogram showing the fringes in the Giza pyramids, and the coherent change is a typical other use case for interferometry. And it's just a demonstration where you can see that the forest, in this case, when it's continuously in motion, loses coherence, and then the fields between these two acquisitions. In this case, the two acquisitions happen to be 8 hours apart. So we can see sort of very rapid revisit type coherence over there. And another thing that is as an important thing to notice is that there are things that even if the phenomena itself does not need high frequency of revisit, but being able to build in the programs and maintain the coherence, requires a high frequency of revisit. Here, in this case, we have, the cropped area is a stockpile in a coal harbor, which then means that the coherence is only there until somebody touches the pile. So in order to be able to build the sort of elevation modeling based on interferometry, you have to be able to capture the stack, within the time that nobody touches the pile. And then typically this has been very hard to do. But if you increase the interferometry revisit down to days or even to hours, then this obviously changes. So your chances of capturing things that don't necessarily need to be monitored as frequently, but just the event or the target itself needs very high access rate, then this type of events, or targets become possible to be monitored within the interferometric methods too. And maybe with these notes, I will end this intro. What you can do, just on ICEYE website, you can see the currently available standard product in the product guides, and then you'll get demo data from there, and it should open in Geomatica too. And this will be my intro. I'll hand it over back. Thanks.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Pekka. That was very informative. I think we even got a few questions from your presentation. So we'll hold those questions to the end of the webinar, but we'll certainly make sure that we get to them.
Wonderful.
Okay, so I'm going to take back the presentation. Okay, so I think at this point in the webinar, we're going to do a poll, a question. So this is to engage our audience and to basically understand a little bit more about how you're using and what kind of SAR imagery you're using today. So I'm just going to launch the poll right now. But the question is, what type of SAR imagery do you use or plan to use, and why? So we have a couple options. So you have commercial for, and the reason why you use it is for higher resolution. We also have commercial, and the reasoning for using it is for high revisit time. And then we have open data, and then the reason is budget. And then of course we have none as another option if you're not currently using SAR data today. So yeah, I see that the poll is already getting a lot of responses. So we currently have about 50% or just over 50% of the people are using open data mostly for for budgetary reasons. But we also have a large number of people, about 22%, who are using commercial data for the resolution, and 11% are using commercial data for the high revisit time. So we'll just keep that poll open for a few more minutes just to let everybody get their responses in. Okay, I can see that we already have over 70% of the people have voted. So I'm going to keep it open for another 10 seconds, and then I'll be closing the poll. So if you haven't voted, please get your vote in now. Okay, I'm going to be closing the poll in 3, 2, 1. All right, well, thank you everyone once again for sharing your opinion. I'm just going to quickly share our poll. So you should be now able to view on your screen the results of the poll. So as you can see, in the end, we had about 75 people who voted overall out of all of our attendees, and 54% of people, so just over half, are using open data. And then there's a bit of a split between commercial data and the reasons they're using it. So it seems that majority of the people are using commercial data for the high resolution. However, there are some people that are starting to use commercial data for the high revisit time. And that makes sense because, as Pekka pointed out, the ability to have SAR data at a very high revisit time is now only becoming possible with constellations like ICEYE. So previously, before companies like ICEYE, this really wasn't a feasible application. So it makes sense that people are only starting to use um, commercial data for the revisit time. All right. Well, thank you again, everyone, for your votes, and we can move on with the webinar. So now we're just going to change gears, and Pekka was able to go through some of the benefits of ICEYE SAR data for a variety of different applications. The one that actually we're focusing on here today is a lot to do with the revisit times, especially for the InSAR applications. But there's a variety of different benefits, as he was pointing out, in terms of the resolution. So there's a variety of different options and modes that you can get ICEYE imagery for. In order to support your different applications. So as we look specifically in terms of how PCI Geomatics can benefit your SAR projects, we boiled it down to three main value propositions. So the first one is we have a very rich and accurate SAR and InSAR set of capabilities that are deeply rooted in science, and we've worked with many different partners around the world, both research, education, government, and commercial partners in order to develop our tools and make them available to the market. We also have integrations and automation. So the ability to integrate our tool sets through our API and automate it through our Python workflows and modeling environments in order to productize and create production environments. And then flexibility and scalability. So this is a new concept that I'm going to be discussing that under our new leadership within the company, we have been working very hard to repackaging and repurposing our technology to making it more available and reducing some of the barriers of entry in order to take advantage of our technology, particularly our SAR technology in this example. So let's start with the rich and accurate SAR and InSAR capabilities. So we have a full suite of SAR tools. So our full SAR workstations and workflows can be created around SAR photogrammetry. So something that Jason's going to show in the demonstration is our ability to compute from a math model, very accurate math models and DEMs, to generate on-the-fly ortho images from your SAR data, which is a requirement or a prerequisite for many different applications, including the one we're going to show you today. So we also have the ability for SAR interferometry. So we have a full suite of SAR interferometry technology to perform, the phase unwrapping and to generate these deformation maps. Very soon, so we put it very, very soon. We've already started to release some of the technology required for this, but very soon we're going to have our full suite of capabilities to support persistent scatter interferometry, so PSI, in order to create stabilizing points and provide some of those additional benefits around the generation of InSAR of deep stack analysis on deformation maps. And then SAR polarimetry. So this is a technology that I think is also relatively unique to us, and we have a lot of capabilities in terms of analyzing quad pole data, copole data, or sorry, bipole data, and performing things like classification mapping, analyzing structure, change detection, etc. We also have the ability for SAR compact pole, so PC pole, in order to support similar polarimetric applications, but using compact pole sensors available on the market, which is generally lower cost data sets. And then finally, we have the coherence-based change detection capabilities as well, as Pekka was also pointing out in his presentation, is a very valuable application of SAR and becomes even more valuable when you have high revisit times like what ICEYE is able to offer. So I went through a lot there, but really just want to emphasize the fact that with our capabilities, you have a lot of access to SAR technology. But then even beyond that, we also give you a lot of general image processing and analytical tools to even go beyond these capabilities as well. Moving on to looking at integration and automation. So once again, Connecting PCI's technology, particularly our SAR processing technology, into your data pipeline is a very important concept. So we know that that the world is moving towards using building technology stacks, using best of breed, as I call them, or top technologies that specialize in specific areas. So connecting these technologies together seamlessly so that you can create the ultimate solution for yourself. So this includes everything from upstream technology such as data acquisition, like using, for example, the different APIs and tools available for identifying acquisitions and capturing the imagery, to the actual SAR processing through, say, our technology, and then even handing it off to further analytical and visualization platforms and libraries such as TensorFlow's deep learning network made by Google. We also have CartaVista, which is a wonderful visualization platform, and then Cesium, which is also another great visualization platform. So the ability to build tools that integrate all of these technologies together in a very seamless manner. And then finally, flexibility and scalability. So this is something new that you really need to come talk to us about. So we have new subscriptions available now, which we've started to release this year. So making our technology available through a subscription-based model where you can subscribe to monthly, annual, a variety of different services. We have on-demand, so in the cloud. So if you want on-demand services, come talk to us about that. This is a great application or a great way for building production environments and platforms that might utilize our technology, where you can scale up and scale down on demand as needed. So only paying for when you need that extra production capabilities, such as if you have production surges or not. And then another thing that we are also introducing this year is the ability to pay by algorithm. So the ability to go in and purchase by the individual algorithm itself. So if there's only specific algorithms you're looking to plug into your workflow, you can come talk to us about an a la carte option and just buying the individual, or sorry, subscribing to the individual algorithm. And then also, once again, for production environments, the ability to pay and subscribe by core. So the ability to really scale up and down, not only by servers, but also by the individual cores. So we give you a lot of that ability for flexibility and scalability. We've also released some new SAR features. So there's been a lot that we've released over the last year. We're just going to highlight some of the ones that we really stand out in our mind. So we have the ICEYE support, so both GRD and SLC support of those data products, or formats rather. We've also released our image multi-looking. So Jason's going to showcase this a little bit, and basically what this does is allows us to perform phase unwrapping at a much faster, or be able to do it much faster than we were able to do it before. So this is often the bottleneck in these workflows, is the phase unwrapping. So the fact that we can now do it with this multi-looking, image multi-looking approach allows us to significantly accelerate that process. And then, as mentioned, coming soon, we have our persistent scatter interferometry workflow, so our PSI capabilities, for really being able to dive into and performing deep stack analysis on InSAR data. Okay, so I'm going to open up one more poll before we jump into the main point of this webinar, which is to look at the deformation, or building a cost-effective deformation mapping application. So before I go into that, I'm just going to launch one last survey. And this is to understand, what SAR software packages are you using today? So I just launched the survey. The options are Geomatica, SARscape, Snapu, Gamma, and other, if you're not using any of those packages. Okay, we've already got about 60% of the votes in, so hopefully we can get a few more in the next 30 seconds. We'll leave the polls going for another 25 seconds at this point. So please get your votes in. So far we can see that there is a split between Geomatica, Snapu, and other right now. Okay, so I'm going to close the poll in 10 seconds. So if you haven't voted, please get your vote in, and we'll share the results with everybody. We have 72% of the people voted so far. So I'm going to shut it down in 3, 2, 1. Okay, we'll share those results. So once again, thank you very much for your vote. As you can see, we have a bit of a split between Geomatica at 30%, SARscape's down at 8%, we have Snapu at 23%, Gamma at 10%, and other packages at 28%. So I would love it if you have, if you voted for other, if you don't mind in the questions panel, if you could just list out some of the packages that you're using. I would love to better understand that. Okay, so we're just going to finish off with our last section. So it's looking at cost-effective deformation mapping. So why deformation mapping? Well, there's a number of applications for just understanding how the ground is moving and trying to analyze small uplifts and subsidence activities within the ground around key infrastructure and different types of structures. So it can provide a lot of insights around whether or not there's any stressors that are acting upon these infrastructures. As Pekka also identified, the ability to perform the InSAR analysis has applications around farming, has applications around disaster management, has applications around energy and infrastructure management. So there's a number of different applications for it, because what we're ultimately doing is we're looking for centimeter or even millimeter level changes in the ground. So either lifting up or subsiding down. And we're looking for these changes over periods of time. So now with the high revisit capabilities of ICEYE, we have the ability to build deep stacks very quickly. And what we can analyze is not just if things are changing, because things will the earth naturally uplifts and subsides in many different parts of the world. But what we ultimately want to see is if there's an acceleration, an unnatural acceleration in these areas. And that can be a precursor to a disaster that might be occurring. So once again, to bring it back full circle, the reason why we perform deformation mapping, or one of the reasons, is that we can detect early warning signs to help prevent certain types of disasters. Now, there's many applications for it, but this is really one of the ones that we're going to focus on today around deformation monitoring. So looking at cost-effective deformation monitoring. So here is the concept in a very simple terms. So I've broken it down into two main sections. So you have initial scan and then detailed scan. And I've broken this down into 2 steps for each section. So first is you would ongoing monitoring is you just want to see, is there something I need to pay attention to? Is there something that might be occurring? So there might be key areas of interest that you wish to just constantly track, whether it's a dam or infrastructure, or if it's a pipeline, or an oil field, or a mining site. So anything in those areas that you want to just monitor on a regular basis. So from a cost perspective, you can do this using lower resolution InSAR pairs. So once again, ICEYE provides a wonderful application for this using their strip map option, which is a lower resolution option, providing a much larger area of interest. And this gives you the ability to look at these areas with a high revisit time. So for applications where you need that high revisit time, ICEYE is a wonderful data source for that. In other applications, if maybe your revisit time isn't as important and you're looking for an even more cost-effective solution, you might want to consider even like Sentinel data or open source data for that initial pass. Then you would use tools such as available through Geomatica SAR capabilities to generate the interferogram and deformation map from that low resolution pair and detect to see if there is any unusual subsidence. So is there uplift or subsidence at an accelerated velocity or accelerated rate? If yes, then you move to the detailed scan. So now you want to do a more detailed look. So this is where you can capture, say, ICEYE spotlight data. Once again, with very high revisit times, you're going to be able to get a spotlight data set that will be able to correspond to the time frames that you're looking for. So you can download that higher resolution pair, and then once again repeat step 2. So generate the interferogram and deformation maps from that low resolution pair to analyze the more intricate details of the site or the infrastructure that you're assessing. To put in other terms, you do an initial scan with a very high resolution area, or sorry, low resolution area over an area of interest to detect the initial potential problem, and then you acquire higher resolution data, and there's a lot of APIs out there or coming out to be able to do this in a more automated fashion, and then perform that same analysis with the higher resolution imagery. Some applications that we've even done using our data as well. So it's just looking at the Simric oil field deformation between 2 different dates. So you can see that there's an accelerated change in deformation between September 13th and 25th, as you can see on this chart here. And what's really interesting about this site is this is a oil extraction site where they use steam injection in order to extract the oil. So a lot of the uplift and subsidence comes from when they're injecting the steam into the ground to extract the oil, and then the subsidence is when the oil becomes extracted. So it's a very interesting site to monitor using interferometry. And the last concept I want to be able to showcase is the ability to build this into a data pipeline. So this is becoming a very popular application where you can then generate your deformation maps in an ongoing way and create sort of a service from this perspective. So you're constantly feeding data into this process. So get started today. Download Geomatica, try for free at getgeomatica.com. And speak with us about our attractive subscriptions for both Geomatica and our GXL technology. We're always standing by. We have a customer success team that is designed to help make sure that you're successful, which includes things like online self-serve help desk, 24-hour email response, and we have in-house trained experts that work directly for us, so we don't outsource any of this. Okay, with that, I'm going to hand things over to our subject matter expert, Jason Flatt, in order to perform our demonstration.
Thank you very much, Sean, for this wonderful presentation. Hello, everyone. So what my presentation and demonstration is going to cover is just how to get started with raw ICEYE data, and then how to generate a deformation map using paired images. So I'm just going to change the presenter to myself. Perfect. Can everyone see my screen? Perfect.
You're good.
Awesome. Thank you. So just a brief piece of information about the area we're working with. This is strip map data over Rosman Dry Lake in the Mojave Desert region in Southern California. It's located near Edwards Air Force Base and the cities of Lancaster and Palmdale. What's really exciting about this area is that although it's an arid location, it does occasionally see intense storms which result in flooding, causing damages to roads and buildings. So with the strip map data, what we can see here, I'll just zoom out. I have processed the pairs to generate a simple deformation map to measure any change in the area around the lake. we processed it in our normal workflow and identified this area of interest of deformation. And these images are 3 days apart, thanks to the high temporal resolution of the ICEYE data. Now, before I go through the workflow, I do want to just showcase how easy it is to work with ICEYE data in Geomatica. Our technology strives to streamline your processing and the data visualization. So for this, I'm just going to select the image folder for one of the images. All I need to do is select the XML, and I can just point to this file and open it in focus for this. And for this, I'm just going to drag and drop it. We are immediately provided the option to calibrate it, to visualize the data how we want, so different calibration methods. For this, I'm going to select Sigma. We also offer the user to visualize it in slant range by selecting File or using a DEM to on-the-fly or orthorectify. And this just enables users to jump right into the analytics of their processing and visualization. So I'm going to select Math Model to actually orthorectify it on the fly. I'm going to point to a DEM that I have over the same area. Select OK. Take a few moments and it's loaded. Now, as we load the data into focus, under the hood, Geomatica is capturing all the metadata from the vendor and reading it, storing it, and writing the metadata correctly, and additionally computing additional metadata information, which is necessary for our InSAR related tasks. We can easily view this in the properties metadata section. So by correctly storing the metadata, it just makes our entire InSAR SAR workflows far easier, saving you time instead of having to manually add them in. And thus, this will be used for the subsequent processing and used for computing the satellite positions. Additionally, we also support complex 32-bit real data for InSAR support. So now to complete the workflow, or to showcase the workflow, I'm just going to be focusing on the Rosamond Dry Lake. So I have those 2 images that we just saw. I am just going to ingest based on an area of interest of my study, which is this polygon vector file over here. We have the 2 images available, and running through our workflow, we ingest the imagery from the raw file format into our PIX file format, co-registering the reference and dependence together, generating a raw interferogram, which I can showcase. So here's the co-registered data, or the clipped ingested data, and we have a little polygon vector file to just showcase where the lake is. We then generate the raw interferogram. We can zoom in, see the fringes. We can even view the coherence as a grayscale, and utilizing correct for orbital effects, elevation effects. Filter the interferogram utilizing a Goldstein approach, and then generating coherence masks, which will help generate a better unwrapped interferogram. We can then unwrap the interferogram, which will generate a interpolated displacement layer, and we can also see the unwrapped interferogram. All of this, of course, can be done automatically, so you can generate your own automated workflows to streamline all of this processing. One thing about the unwrapping, to help speed up just what Sean mentioned, we utilize the INS or MLOOK, or the multi-looking tool, which just significantly reduce the amount of processing time necessary to generate these products, but yet still maintain the high quality of detail and information. Once I've unwrapped the product, I can then provide it calibration points. These are vector points that had displacement values of 0, where it's just a stable ground location, so no known movements. We can use this to then calibrate the final deformation map into what we see here. So I'm going to zoom into our little area of interest. This information is going to be used. One exciting feature, I'm going to create a vector line. Just going to create a new vector layer. Going to create it and just make it go along the deformation area. Right click on deformation map. We can then view the profile. Just going to select the, one second. I'm just going to showcase the profile. Give me just a one second. Here, let me try one more thing. Either way, I will showcase that in a second, but we can generate a profile to showcase the change in deformation of the pixels. Let me just go back to this area. My apologies. Doing it on. There we go. There we have it. Gonna just change the background so it's white, easier for everyone to visualize. And we can then increase it just to see that the lowest amount of deformation, or the amount of change, has been around. This is in meters, by the way, so 1.3 centimeters, and to the highest of 1.3 centimeters as well. So it's a big change. So negative 1.3 and positive 1.3. So utilizing the metadata we automatically read, running through our InSAR processing automatically, we were able to generate this little deformation map that could then be used for further analysis and decision making. Over to you, Sean.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Jason. Okay, so once again, what you just learned through that demonstration was how to get started with ICEYE data. So Jason showed you how to load the raw ICEYE data into Geomatica's Focus, showed you that we're bringing in a lot of additional information, so we're automatically extracting all that metadata. We're able to orthorectify the data on the fly. We're generating a number of other parameters, and all of that information is then used in the InSAR and other SAR workflows that we have to help automate that. So that really reduces a lot of the manual effort that you would have to go in through. So that was wonderful. Thank you, Jason. And then at the end, he also showed you, the primary steps, so the main outputs and intermediary products that are required to create the deformation map using ICEYE strip map imagery. So just to finish off, some resources to help you. So you can always visit support.pcigeomatics.com, access a number of tutorials, such as the workflow that Jason showcased today, webinars, etc. You can go to our developer zone. So if you're looking at trying to understand how to plug this in and build out some of your own tools and workflows and automate this, so there's a number of different great tutorials on there. We have a number of self-paced training resources through Udemy, a number of YouTube videos as well, so you can see a lot of what we showcased today and a variety of our other technology in action. And at this point, I'm going to, we only have a couple of minutes, so about 5 minutes left. So I'm going to open up the lines for a few questions. So if you have some questions, please feel free to enter them into the questions panel. So a number of questions are already coming in. I'm just going to go through, and And I will just state, if we don't get through all of your questions today, we will send up a follow-up email where we will respond to every single question that is asked. So your question will be answered. So we have a question from, this is for Jason. What is the resolution of the SAR images Jason was showing?
So the resolution, it was actually in degrees. I didn't turn it into meters, but I did take the original, the raw ICEYE data, and I did do a factor. I did multi-look it, so I reduced the resolution by a factor of 5 from the original,
Okay.
just to speed up processing.
Yeah, and you were using strip map data. So Pekka, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's approximately 3-meter resolution, correct?
Correct. Yeah, the range resolution is optimized so that like the ground resolution is 3 meters.
Yeah. And one of the other follow-up questions around that was you also offer a high resolution spotlight image product as well. What's the resolution of that?
Yeah, it varies over the different incidence angles, but the slant range resolution is 0.5 meter, and the single look azimuth resolution is 25 centimeters.
Wonderful. So it's a great data set for when you really need that extra level of detail. Okay, gonna go through a few more questions. So Pekka, maybe this is a question that you can help answer. So this comes from Robert Cheng. For deformation mapping, does full/dual pole data give better results than single pole? And then he's got a follow-up, which I'll ask afterwards.
In my experience, not really. I think, but this is only based on my experience.
Okay. No, I appreciate that. And Gabriel, we also have one of our SAR scientists on the line, Gabriel. So also feel free to chime in if you wish.
What I can tell from my experience is using co-polarized data or compact pole data, you can sometimes have better result, but it's really an optimization, like more for certain small area, but this is certainly not if you're combined like the two measurements. You won't get like, and I see a huge improvement as opposed to using only like one channel. But yeah, for some pixel, for some targets, you can have a better optimization about the coherences and then a better measurement of the interferometric properties. But in general, you won't get like, let's say 40% more precision all over the image.
You won't get, yeah. Okay. So this actually comes as another question. Pekka, do we need to write a special grant for access to ICEYE SAR data? So I think a bigger question for that is, how can people access ICEYE data?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there is the direct commercial way of accessing ICEYE data. So directly contacting ICEYE sales, and then we'll take it from there. And then the sort of research sort of free access. So we have worked with a few different programs. The probably the best coverage is with the ESA, European Space Agency third-party mission in the EarthNet program. So you can write a application to that TPM program, and then this will support the data, and the data will be free of charge. So on ICEYE website, you'll see instructions how to do that. That would be the program that I would start, and then there's a few other sort of let's say our own university collaboration type programs where we have offered free data for research too.
Wonderful, really appreciate that. And keep just a reminder that this is being recorded, so we'll hand out the recording and make the recording available to everyone as well. So it's the top of the hour, so I think we'll have time for just one last question. And And I'm just going to find, so our last question, and once again, if we didn't get to your question, we will follow up with you by email and answer every single question that was asked. So Pekka, I think this one's also for you. Do you think that the spatial resolution of ICEYE will be good for sinkhole detection?
I have to say I have no data on this, but I would imagine that you know you get to a range of detectability. I think sinkholes can be different sizes, but I would hope so. This will be my answer.
Yeah, I think also it's a great way of identifying potential sinkholes from occurring as well. So the early warning signs of a sinkhole as well. Okay, so with that, we're going to have to wrap up. So once again, really appreciate everybody taking time out of their day today. Pekka, to once again to our special guest Pekka from ICEYE. They have a wonderful product. We've already been privileged enough to play around with it and extract some amazing results from their data. So thank you, Pekka, once again for joining us today. And yeah, and we hope that you all have either a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you, everyone.